What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel once again, and today we're gonna be taking a look at my latest obsession. I went on a Vans kind of shopping spree and figured I'd share it with you guys. I'm a little ashamed I bought 3 pairs at once, but I got really excited and had to do it, so let's dive into them. So before we go too deep, I have to warn you, I'm not an expert on Vans. It's crazy because Vans is probably the longest running brand in my personal lifetime, you know, meaning that I've been wearing Vans since I've been wearing Vans since before I could even walk. So, and I think that kind of goes with a lot of kids who grew up in Southern California. It's a Southern California brand. They've been around since the 60s, extremely iconic, very prominent in the skateboard scene, the surf scene, probably even the snowboard scene, all the board sports. And in Southern California, we've got them all. We've got mountains and ocean and skate parks, literally sometimes within an hour of each other. So, you know, very fortunate to grow up in this area, and Vans are just part of the lifestyle. So 3 pairs, all really dope. Let's get into them. First colorway is called the Parisian Night. I already feel like I mispronounced that, but whatever. It's kind of like a light navy-ish blue, indigo, if you will. Indigo is probably the best way to describe it, but full suede upper. And that's what sets this pair apart from the other 2 pairs. The other 2 pairs are both canvas, typical Vans, but picked up these, like I said, full suede upper, and all 3 pairs are OG authentic LX. And I believe the LX kind of leans towards a more luxurious quality silhouette, if you will. That obviously the authentic is a pair that goes way back, one of the first that Vans ever released, and a big staple in their whole brand. So let's kind of break down the construction of a pair of Vans the absolute best way I know how. And I did look up a few key terms because a pair of Vans is way different than a pair of sneakers, Adidas, Nike. There's a whole lot of little aesthetic pieces that make up a pair of Vans that aren't necessarily on a regular pair of sneakers. So I had to look up a few keywords, and hopefully that makes the review all that much better. So, toe cap, all suede, lateral, medial, full suede, heel counter is actually not there. On a regular pair of Vans, there's an actual piece, just like this front portion is made up of a whole separate piece of suede. There's typically a heel counter that goes all the way across here. I'm sure the camera's picking up that stitching right there. Instead, they just outline it with the stitching, so it kind of gives the appeal that there still is a heel counter there, but there's not. So that's one thing I'm able to kind of set apart from a regular pair of Authentics. The next part is this kind of heel panel right here that's an offsetting off-white color on this pair of shoes. All 3 pairs also have that as well. That's one thing that the LXs have that no Authentics typically do. So you've got that heel piece right there, just another piece of buttery suede as well, right on top of where the typical heel counter sits. Right below that, you've got the Vans tag or label, whatever you want to call it. I believe on the regular Authentics, this is not red. So like I said, take it with a grain of salt. That might be false, but this is part of the Vans Originals series, which is kind of similar to how Adidas has the Adidas Originals. I think there's just a little bit more attention to detail overall put into the Originals lineup. So got the Vans tag right there that sits right on the outside of the toe cap right there. This time it's kind of a goldish color, I guess is the best way to describe that. Laces are that same color, Parisian Night, indigo, bluish, light navy-ish. My absolute favorite part of the LXs is the fact that there's extra padding put in the heel right here. If you wear a pair of Vans around every day, all day, your heels kind of just take the brunt of it, and I have really weak heels for whatever reason, so the extra padding right there is really nice. Still not a removable insole, it's definitely glued down, but ton of padding, so I definitely appreciate that. That was right out of the box. I put them on, I'm like, wow, that's a lot nicer than a regular pair of Vans. All Vans have this first layer that goes all the way around the shoe, and that I believe is called foxing. And on this particular silhouette, it's kind of like a triple layer of foxing. I know on most pairs of Vans, there's like an offsetting black or red stripe that runs across. On this, they just kept it all white through all 3 layers of that foxing right there, just completely white. You've got the typical vulcanized midsole. You got what Vans refers to as the bumper right up front. And that front bumper is typically always textured, pretty much the same on most pairs of Vans that I've ever had. And it's just an extra rubber piece added to the front of the shoe. These are skate shoes, that's what they originally were made for. So It just adds a little more durability to the shoe. For those of you who don't skateboard, you use your shoes to slide up along the grip tape a lot, so they definitely need to be reinforced because otherwise they fall apart really quickly. And typical skate shoes fall apart regardless, so they're just doing their best to reinforce the shoe, make it last a little bit longer. That's okay, because Vans are 50, 40, 50 bucks, 60 bucks. I think these were 60, and that's nothing compared to a pair of sneakers these days when we're paying $200, $300 for pairs of shoes. So just another key point to note, I guess. Forgot to mention the tongue. The tongue is also suede on these. Really simple, always detached, always has been. There's actually no eyelets on these shoes. Well, there's eyelets, otherwise the laces would have nowhere to go. But typically they have metal eyelets on most pairs of Vans, and on this pair, for whatever reason, they just decided to put the holes there. Honestly, they take away from it, but I think it's a nice addition, if that makes sense. You know, it gives the shoe a nice, sleek, minimal look, and I can appreciate that. Lastly, as always, the iconic Vans waffle outsole. Same patterns, same as always. Been the same since I've been wearing them since I can remember. And that's the first pair of Vans. Like I said, definitely a lot more comfortable just because of that heel cushion. As far as sizing goes, most Vans fit very, very, very similar. I can squeeze my foot into a 9.5, but my feet definitely poke towards the front. My toes get achy after a while, so all three of these, I went with a 10. I think Vans just typically run a little bit bigger, or maybe it's just my personal preference to have them fit a little more snug because I do lace them rather loose, and I'd rather there be no heel slippage. So size 10, they work, they fit very good. I wear thin socks, no-show socks, sometimes even no socks with my Vans. So that's fit. I went size 10. Like you guys know, on all my actual sneakers, my Adidas, my Nikes, it's typically a 10 or 10.5. So these run just a little bit big compared to your normal athletic sneakers. So let's move on. If you rock with Vans, you always need a dark black grayish pair. It's a must. Now with that said, I already had a pair. Let me show you guys. These are my normal Authentics, definitely beat up, and it was just time for a new pair. I'll still rock these. They need to be clean, man. They are filthy. You can see that black heel tab right there. No cushion on the inside. Black is a must. Now, these are an Asphalt colorway. They're gonna look a little light when I show you this heel panel right there, because that heel panel piece of suede right there is actually completely black, but the colorway is Asphalt. On this particular pair, they did go with the white stitching, which is a nice accent piece. Same thing, no heel counter on this shoe either, just the same stitching. Like I said, all canvas on this colorway, except for this piece right here, that is still suede. Tongue is canvas as well. Off-white laces. I always like off-white when it comes to black, or really anything. Off-white is just such an appealing colorway, cream, whatever you wanna call it. It really accentuates anything out there, in my opinion. Some people don't like it, but whatever, I do. Same heel cushion. Like I said, all three of these are very, very similar. I just wanted to share all three of them in one video instead of breaking them down and being redundant. So same thing, all white foxing all the way around, same front bumper, same midsole, same waffle outsole. This is, of the three, probably my favorite. I didn't save it for last because the last pair is semi-iconic, and well, with that said, we might as well get right into them. There's a man by the name of Daniel who made the triple white, all white Vans very, very famous. If you don't know him, go right now to Google, type in Dam followed by Daniel, and you're in for a treat. But nonetheless, all white, triple white, whatever you want to call them, had to pick these up. I think, like I said earlier, if you're into Vans, there's just something about a fresh pair of white Vans. They really go with anything, jeans, shorts, board shorts, whatever you're wearing, especially in Southern California, these are fire. Anytime, unless it's raining, don't wear these because they get filthy really quick. But nonetheless, very similar to the last pair, all canvas. This heel tab is what I believe they're calling a safari, because I don't know what else would be a safari colorway on here. The whole shoe's kind of like a chalky cream, and then the box says safari, and I'm guessing it's just that piece. So heel pad, suede, rest of the shoe, canvas, triple white foxing, white bumper, white midsole, gum outsole. Oh, I almost forgot to mention, right above this tag right here, you do have the eyelets. Both the canvas pairs came with metal eyelets. Like I said, that first pair just didn't, whatever it was. I think it's the suede pairs probably don't include them. Canvas pair does. Another iconic piece, especially on the OG Authentics. And you got the cream laces to match the cream colorway. And I wish there was a whole lot more I could say, but that really almost wraps it up. The only other difference is the LX is coming in a blue box. I think most Vans are still coming in a red and brown box. For the Vans Originals, they give you a nice blue box, a little bit more appealing. Very happy with all 3 pairs. Like I said, I kind of went crazy. I grabbed 3 pairs in a row, and I don't know why, I just came across them and I'm like, hey, I haven't picked up any Vans lately. My current pair's filthy, time to re-up. And it's nice when you can get 3 pairs of shoes for less than the price of 1 sometimes. And you gotta show love to Vans, man. That's something that they're doing, is keeping all their prices low, especially when they're doing collaborations with big name brands like Fear of God. Most Fear of God stuff is like ridiculously priced, $500, $600, $700 for a hoodie sometimes even more. But when Vans comes into the picture and they do a collaboration like they did last year with Fear of God, the shoes are still under $100. And that's just unbeatable. You know, it really speaks a lot about who Vans is as a brand, and that they appreciate their customer base and that they're not trying to just make a buck off of them. So with that said, thanks so much to Vans for just continuing to provide such an amazing lineup of shoes and just keeping it real. You know, that they're not really steering away from who they are as a company. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks so much as always for all the support. I will see you guys very soon. New video coming in a couple days. November is just raining sneakers. So hopefully I can get a hold of everything that I think you guys would want to see and just start pumping the videos out. So prepare for more content. As always, like I said, thanks for the support. Appreciate it. I'm gonna try and throw all 3 of these on foot, even though I gave you a close-up of each one individually already. And until next time, guys, thanks. Peace out.